So we're live at this moment. Let's start. Uh, Sorry, Sachin, but this is not the session of digital art. Uh, Actually, we'll be teaching you digital art in the further sessions if we are able to in the offline sessions at the campus. Basically, even though I'm making all of this in sketchbook, I'll just be teaching you art basics today. The workshop will start at 6:30. Excuse me for a second. Hmm. The basic reason why I'm using sketchbook right now is to present the art better. Because if I'll be using page, then it will be quite messy. Right now, we're not starting the workshop right now because I decided on the time to be 6:30. So if you have any queries regarding college or this art, then you can ask in the comments. Okay, so as some of you are here, I'll just give you an overview of what you will be taught in the workshop. So first of all, we'll be dealing with the basics of art. Okay, basics of art. First of all, how to learn art or learn drawing, sketching mainly. What are the important things to consider when you are learning sketching for the first time? Because I wasted about 1 year of my life trying to learn sketching the right way, actually. So, what are the techniques, or should you be following YouTube tutorials blindly, or in a better way, actually? What is tempo? This is actually the most important thing to consider, tempo. And then moving on from whatever you have to do to start learning. Is A4 paper good enough? Because it's not A3 size. Okay. Uh, First of all, any kind of paper, even a notebook paper, is sufficient for you to follow whatever I'll be teaching, because we'll just be making simple circles, lines, and stuff like this. And for the next question, I'm drawing on a tablet. It's XP pen, star 03, I think, star 03 V2. Eh, It's more of a fancy tablet. Actually, in my opinion, get the Wacom one. It's a far better tablet than this one, because mine is about 10 inches by 6 inches tablet, which is not good for drawing. Even though it has a very large surface area, but it gets quite difficult to handle. Whereas Wacom one has about 4 into 6 inches, I think, 6 inches into 4 inches, I think, and that's an appropriate area actually for you to to be drawing. Also, there's a thing called pressure sensitivity. Mine has 8196 levels of pressure sensitivity or something like that, pressure levels. And the Wacom one has 2046 or 2048 levels. And let me tell you that this doesn't matter, the pressure sensitivity levels actually. 2000 levels and 8000 levels are not actually that much of a concern when you are just a beginner right now. They just, for example, let me show you what pressure sensitivity actually does. So this is my normal line, this is my thick line, and what I'll do is I'll graduate from this thick line to this thin line. This is what pressure sensitivity does. How much pressure I'm applying on the stylus, it will transfer it onto the screen actually. And I'm using Autodesk Sketchbook. Actually, using Photoshop is better, but this is a new software for me too. Using this Autodesk Sketchbook, I started using this only a few days back, but this is actually a pretty good software for beginners actually, for sketching at least. This brush, I'm using paintbrush right now. This actually has a very good stroke, and the way you check what software is good, actually responsive, you just start making bubbles at very fast speed, and as you can see they are continuous. If they are strokey like this, then this means that the software isn't good, not good. So if people are looking for software recommendations for digital art, so software, I think on the top is Photoshop, without a doubt. Illustrator, I don't like the actually the interface in Illustrator. Considering other softwares, I think Krita is the next best solution to Photoshop. It's free actually, Krita. So that's also a plus point. And on the pricier side of things, you have other softwares like Corel Draw, Corel Painter, actually Corel Painter. And for beginners, I think the sketchbook is too good. I mean, it has a very simple interface. Considering other than sketchbook, Krita also has a very simple interface. Then there's a manga drawing tool, but it has, I think, a $10 price tag. So that's out of the question right now. I think these two softwares are more than sufficient. Do not use Paint for drawing unless you want to torture yourself. Now let's go on, move on to next question. So what about GIMP? Sir, I'm not asking. Wants to get into digital art. Okay, so if someone wants to get into digital art and is a professional actually, so Photoshop is pretty good. And about the tablet, I'll say buy a UN tablet. UN HS6410, I think, or 640, or maybe other UN tablets. And the main thing is most of the tablets do not have a screen. So that is a main concern for some people, that I'll not be able to coordinate by using a tablet with no screen. But to be honest, it has not been a problem for me or for anyone actually who uses such kind of tablets, because it's actually easy. After 2 or 3 times, you get used to it. And if you are looking for a tablet with a screen, then they cost around 20 to 30,000 rupees, and it's honestly not a good investment if you are not going to carry it forward professionally. And also, the main problem is the smoothness of the screen. When you have a tablet with a screen that displays actually what you are drawing, then the smoothness of the screen actually hampers your stroke. Right now, I am using The tablet with a paper stuck onto it actually. I have pasted a paper on it for the desired roughness. I'll send a photo if I'm able to. What about GIMP? I'm not sure what. Oh, JMP. Sorry. I think Adi Dahake. For me, GIMP was not the perfect software actually. GIMP has a lot of problems when it is good for photo manipulation, but its interface is about 10 years old. I mean, it feels like it's about from 2010 or something, a decade ago. So I think using Sketchbook for digital art is good. For photo manipulation, use Photoshop. And for free softwares, photo manipulation, I think Sketchbook is free and it can also manipulate photos too, if I'm right. Yeah, you can manipulate photos from this software too. So Sketchbook is actually pretty good. I didn't expect this from this software. So you can ask any questions if you have. 612. So any questions about the college are welcome too, actually. Also, I wanted to address one thing that I've noticed is people uh, want to hoard supplies. Like they'll think they don't have the enough supplies for making any artwork. For example, I used to think like this too. When I was in, I think, first year, I had, I mean, a lot of supplies, every type of color, including I did buy alcohol markers in second year too. And after using a lot of supplies, I have come to the conclusion that a paper, a pen, or a pencil, and an eraser is enough for making anything. Have a black pen with you, have a pencil, have an eraser, and a white page. Only that much is required. Okay. And also for Android, actually, there are some quite good softwares. I think IB's Paintex. I mean, if someone has a Galaxy S10 and they have a stylus, then the software is pretty good. Or if even if you don't have a stylus, you can paint using your hand too in IB's Paintex on your phone actually on your Android, and it does actually a pretty decent job if you are good with drawing on your phone or your phone screen is too big. Mine's I think 4 or 5 inches, so it's problem. Sir, I don't know much about digital drawing. For digital drawing, it's not a necessity to have a digital tablet, but it makes the things easier. You cannot draw using a mouse and expect it to look magnificent. The thing that I'm doing right now, you can do using a mouse actually. So having a tablet definitely helps. If you want to do pixel art, on the other hand, having a tablet is a disadvantage. You'll have using a mouse will be pretty good actually doing pixel art. But still, I think a tablet gives you more maneuverability. You can maneuver your hand pretty good using a tablet. I mean, I can do stuff like this or make a face. Okay, so I like to address this again that uh, this is not a digital workshop. Actually, we'll not be teaching you how to use Sketchbook. We'll just be teaching you how to draw. This is just a medium that I'm using to show you how to draw, because this is better than using pen and a paper. So Do not worry if you don't have the software and or anything. You just have to have a pen, a pencil, a eraser, or anything else that you require. Also, another thing, I'll not be teaching you face shading or anything like that. We'll just cover the basics of sketching and some other art basics or some shading basics, but I'll not be teaching you fully how to shade a face or how to make hair or shade hair. Actually, here are the most important thing or the hardest thing to make or shade. Okay. We do have some time right now. But I don't know. Do we need a touch pen for it to use the software? Okay. I'll just tell you something about how I got so much into drawing. So first thing is you need something like that moment that you think, yeah, I need to do this. And for me, it was watching anime actually. That no, this isn't a very good, turning point in your life that you start watching anime and you learn about drawings. But first of all, I actually watched a tutorial on Lumi's method for head drawing, and I wasn't too much into it, but I tried to do that. And after watching anime, actually, I was fascinated by the animations and the character design, the art style. So that's why I started doing this. So you can actually in my art too, you'll see that I'll make eyes like this. These are not realistic eyes. Realistic eyes look something like this. I mean, look maybe something like this. They are not this sharp, and they have a lot of features. But basically, one more problem actually with anime art is you cannot just start copying anime art. Because if I just start copying anime art, I just draw, for example, I'm drawing something like this. And I'm not using a reference right now, so it might turn out not pretty good drawing, but this is an example. For example, I just copied this drawing from my favorite anime series by, I mean, watching a photo or something. But this doesn't actually give me an insight of how I can design this kind of characters myself. So that's why you need to learn from the basics. And anime mainly makes noses like this, while in real life you have noses more like this, actually. So this is actually, let me make it this kind of nose. This is actually a concentration, or this is what can I hmm, wait a second. Basically, this is how a normal anime character looks from the side, and this is how a normal person looks from the side. There's not much difference, but this is, you can basically differentiate that this is anime and this is real life. And the main thing is they just cut down on the details. They are not adding this, they are not adding this, there is some kind of bunch up over here. They're not adding this. They're just making the stuff easy to make because they have to make a lot of frames. And that actually benefits us. To know how to cut down on these details is mainly how you learn how to make proper art, actually. So if I just start from a drawing or anything else, like, let me just start with a face. Hmm. Example. So this is basically how I'll make a simple face, not too much detail. Now you have to learn how what details you can omit. I mean, this can very easily represent an ear. I mean, if I just do this and do this, this is an ear. I mean, this is an acceptable ear representation actually. And normally, ear has a lot of details, a lot of anatomy going on in it. So, for example, if I have to draw realistic ear, so let me try. I'll try my best. I'm not very good at hyper realism or realistic drawings, but I'll try my best. Okay, something like this, and then you have dark areas, some stuff going on over here. I mean, it's a pretty complex drawing actually to draw this much of detail. If you're drawing, say, 1,000 frames for your animation, drawing this every time creates a lot of unnecessary detail actually. You're not going to zoom in onto a character's ear and see if each vein is there or uh, gradation is there actually, this contours or anything. So using this is pretty much acceptable, and this is actually what art is: taking a detailed drawing and breaking it down into simpler components. I mean, when I draw a head, I start with a circle. So how I this is how Lumi break down actually. Lumi broke down the Lumi was a person. He broke down the average person's skull and use some proportions to say that an average person's skull looks something like this. I mean, we can all agree that he was right to some extent. I mean, this is how an average person will look like. You can't change it. Of course, there are exceptions, and there are personal identifications or uniqueness to each person's face. Let me bring in a few photos if I can. Oh, it's 1824 already. So it may focuses more on the eyes than nose. Actually, anime focuses on breaking down of the face more than anything. The eyes are the most expressive part. Nose isn't the most expressive part. Do you know what nose does to a face? I mean, what is the use of nose? Nose actually tells you about the angle of the face. For example, if I have to draw someone who's looking up actually, something like this, then I'll draw the nose like this. The fact that the nose bridge, let me show you something. This is my nose, for example. This is nose bridge, and here you can see only a little bit of it. This shows that, and you can see the lower part of nose. This shows that the person's head is tilted upwards. So this is how you show that the person's head is tilted upwards. Of course, there are indications with the eye, with the mouth, but this is the main thing on which your brain focuses. That if the nose is like this, then the person must be looking upward, or at least his face should be tilted upwards. And all the expressive component is in the eyes. I can make him look angry using eyebrows actually. This is more of a curious gesture. And if I draw eyebrows like this, then I can make him look angry. And for the same set of eyes, if I just draw eyebrows like this, it looks a little mellow. So that's the thing. 6:30. Yeah, Kishala Roy is actually right. You need to learn the basics of anatomy, human anatomy actually. You can't just go on making anything that you want. I mean, if you draw pectoral muscles like this is wrong. Uh, Anatomy is actually a very vast concept and it takes a lot of time to master or learn actually. Even the basics take at least 1 or 2 months to learn. The workshop is from 6:30 only, so no problem. Is this video will be available afterwards on this channel? We'll try to upload the video again on this channel. Hmm. Okay, so I'll just be giving an overview of what we'll be teaching on this workshop. So first of all, basics. And for starting with the basics, we'll be teaching you how to practice or how to learn art actually. And then uh, basics of art, actually what are the main principles or how to learn art basically. Then some shading basics or shading tips, tricks actually mainly, or how to make your design or artwork more appealing. Appeal is mainly the main thing. Okay, I just used repetition, mainly the main thing, but the thing is, even though you added a lot of detail to your artwork, but if it doesn't have that appeal or that originality, that idea or something else that differs it from other art, then it doesn't matter actually. Now main thing is, I'll not be teaching anything about hyper realism in this, anything actually in this workshop about hyper realism, because this is not my branch. I'm very bad at hyper realism. I'm not able to draw very realistic things. So basically, if you want to learn about this, maybe we'll have another workshop on this, on shading tips and tricks for hyper realism, because it involves more focus on the details, and I'll be focusing more on the basic anatomy or basic structure beneath the details. You know, for a face, you have an eye, another eye, for example. Wait a second. For example, this is what basically a face can be represented with. This is a normal, acceptable face actually. So it doesn't have any details actually, as you can see. And I'll be teaching somewhat to a greater level of detail than this, but not to a very great, a lot of details. I'll not be teaching you how to detail the eyes or how do you draw the pupil, because the pupil isn't just shaded like this. But I'll not be focusing on that. Rather, I'll be focusing on what the basic shape of eyes or how the face changes or how it is. So after appeal, we'll just jump on to face sketching, and this will cover most of your time on this workshop. It's 6:30, so I'll be starting the workshop right now. So welcome everyone. He looks like One Punch Man. Okay. Yeah, actually, One Punch Man was the first anime that I watched. So most of the stuff can be inspired from One Punch Man or Deku, actually from My Hero Academia or anything else, or maybe Noragami. So, okay, so starting the workshop right now, I'm starting. I think we do have a lot of people on the stream, so let's just start. Let's just start with the basics of How do I learn, or how do I practice? Practice. What supplies do I need? Right. So let's just start with what supplies do I need. This question is inherently stupid, actually. I used to ask this question a lot of times. What supplies do I need? I'll watch some YouTube video and I'll think, yeah, if I get this supplies, then I'll make good artwork. But that's just bullshit, actually. For making a good artwork, you need good skills. Good artwork, good skills, or rather, good skills make good artwork. Good artwork. And if you have plenty of supplies, I mean, supplies help in this thing. I mean, if you have good skills already, then if you have supplies, then they act as a catalyst, actually. They'll just make your artwork go from 60 to 100. But first, you'll have to reach to that 60 stage. This stage is hard to achieve. I mean, in some mediums, of course, you'll have to use the supplies. I mean, I'm talking about watercolor. You need to have watercolors to learn how to do watercolor or acrylic colors. But you can't just go on thinking that if I get polychromos pencils, then I'll actually polychromos are some high-end expensive pencils, not needed actually. If you know the shading basics using your simple pencils and then you move on to polychromos, then it helps. Then your painting will go from 60 to 100 real quick. But if your skills are only at level 30 and you think that I'll go to 100, then that's not possible. So that's the thing about supplies. All you need, all you need. This is the basic things that you'll need is papers. I'll say buy some thick papers, thick white papers. These are for your general tips. For today's workshop, you can use anything you want. These are just for your general, art practice. So some thick white paper. A4 paper, A4, A5, any size you want. But the main thing is using printer paper is not good. The A4 paper normally available. You should go to an art store and ask for somewhat thicker sheets. They are very cheap actually. Some of the sheets. What do you do is you buy a large sheet and you cut it into your desired size. So that will be cheaper actually. So you need a thick white paper or any white paper can do. A pen, a black pen, preferably. Using a blue pen isn't good. A pencil and an eraser. This is for sketching actually, not for anything else. Sketching. And after you learn sketching, if you think that you're at least on a normal level or a moderate level at sketching, you can go for shading. And for shading too, I'll say just use normal shading pencil set that are available. You don't have to go for Stadler or any fancy sets. I think rupees 50, 60 should suffice if you want to learn shading or something like that. I mean, when we had offline workshop, we actually used to provide you all of this material, so you don't have to buy. And now also you don't have to buy. You just have to take a pencil and a paper only. Nothing this fancy stuff not needed right now. And for your respective medium, if you're using watercolor, you'll need watercolors or something like that. But for your practice, you don't have to have some fancy supplies. Just start practicing. That's the main thing you should take from this whole lecture about supplies. Just start practicing whatever you have. You have a pencil, you have a red pen, you have a blue pen. Start practicing anything. Now after, what supplies do I have? How should I practice actually? So let me just tell you how I practiced. First, I learned face sketching. I mean, this took about, I mean, practiced this for 5 or 6 months at least. And this wasn't a good move. I'll say learn how to sketch faces and keep practicing it with other things too. Then after face sketching, do not jump to anatomy, body anatomy. I'll just have you learn forms and figures. you know for example, if I'm drawing a simple human body, I'll not. So instead of drawing all of the muscles, I'll just say that, okay, this can represent a human pretty. No, this is acceptable. This looks like a human. I mean, except the face, of course. But whatever this is, these are what forms and figures are. I mean, you can draw your hands like this, right? Uh, just use a cylinder for hand. These are the simple representations of hands. As I said already, I mean, art is not about detailing. Details come later. First, you have to understand what's beneath the details, what's behind the details. Your arm actually looks like this. I mean, this is your bicep muscle, this is your tricep muscle, this is your deltoid, kind of like this. Then this is your radial muscle, then your elbow, then your flexors, your extensors. A lot of muscles go into. But you don't have to, know first the anatomy. First, you have to learn what are the basic things. For example, I can simply replace my arm using this, and this is acceptable. So this is what you learn after you have learned basic face sketching and this kind of things. Now, after that, you have to learn perspective. Perspective is major thing actually. It's a major thing whenever you're drawing. Normally if I draw a stickman like this, he looks bland. Out of you don't know what the context is where he's standing or something like that. Now, for example, if I just make a room simply like, wait a minute, simply like this. This is my 3D room, and if I draw stickman right there, and if I draw another stickman here, now you can tell that this stickman is far behind than this stickman. I mean, you can see that these are the lines joining. So this is what perspective makes. Perspective makes your drawings more interesting. For example, let me just show you something. Okay, open. Look at this. So for this, okay, so uh, now how do I practice? So first you learn face sketching, then you learn simple figures and this thing. And let's get on to the next thing, that is shading or tone basics. Tone basics. Okay. So first of all, the main mistake that I see whenever you're drawing anything, whether it be a face or a circle or anything like that, you think that the forms are 2D. Whatever examples you showed to me in the group or whatever I've seen from other people too, the main thing that hampers actually your development is the fact that you think that everything is 2D, right? For example, if I have to shade this cube, then you can just simply shade this with a simple, hatch. I'm not very good at hatching, I'll admit that. And then if I make it 3D, then it gives it more of a definition of what I'm looking at. So if my light is coming from this direction, of course this won't be there. And for shading basics, just imagine everything as cubes first, or imagine everything as simple shapes first. So if the light is coming from this, we'll just go for two values. What are values actually? What are values? You'll see some of the artists use this. Uh, for me, if you want to just simplify this, I'm saying that shades doesn't really mean value, but actually value determines what is the level of lightness or darkness of your component actually. So basically, if I have this cube right here, and if I have light source from this, I can just simply say that this will be light, this will be dark. Okay, so this is how basically shading works. And let me just tell you one more thing about halftones. Halftones, what are halftones? So you have the lightest dark, these are actually terms used. Lightest dark or lightest shadow actually, lightest shadow, and the darkest shadow, then your simple light, and your darkest light zone. Light zone. Okay, so these are the main things that you should know. Your darkest light should be light fader or lighter than this, lighter than dark lightest shadow. What I mean actually is this. For example, if I have something like this, okay, okay, let's make a somewhat complex structure just for the sake of understanding. Something like this, and I have some light coming on from this direction, and I also have some cylindrical parts going on over here. Okay, this is the area which will be maximum, which will be in maximum dark. So I'll call it darkest shadow, my darkest shadow. And we'll also have some shadow over here, shadow over here. And this will be light part. Okay, this will be light. So the main thing is, for example, if I have a secondary light source over here which is not as bright, not as bright, I can say that this will be light, but it will have somewhat of a shadow, and this will be somewhat darker. So what I meant by the previous thing was that this should be darker than this, or you should know when to use dark shadows and when to use light. For example, if you're drawing an eye, for example, this is what your eyes. Basically, this is normal eye, but you can add somewhat of a shadow over here. Okay? But now, if I have added some shadow, let me just zoom in on this. Uh, So if I have added a light shadow over here, and this must be dark actually. I can't just have the same values over here and here. If I make this much dark too, it won't look as good actually. And so I'll wrap things up for shading right now. For let me, because we don't have much time actually. I've already elapsed about 15 minutes, but the main thing is, for example, I'll just show using a cylinder. You have a dark part, you have something in between, which are known as halftones, and then you go on to the light part. So this is how it works. You go lighter, and you should always be non-hesitant actually. Most of the people, they just keep on using light tones, and do not, if I'm drawing an eye, and if I just use light tones everywhere, only light tones, then this doesn't give you the depth. And if I start using some dark tones, like this or like this, Now this actually gives depth to your eye or whatever you're drawing. So this is the main thing. You need to color whole, you need to use the whole spectra of tones. This is your lightest tone, this is your, for example, darkest tone. Let me see how dark I can go with this color. So I'll have about this dark. Then I'll use somewhat lighter tone over here. Then I have a much lighter tone, lighter than that, lighter than that, kind of like that. Okay, I can make it this. You have to use the whole spectra whenever you're drawing anything. So let's just start with sketching first. uh, I'll be teaching about perspective at the end. So now I'll be guiding you step by step on how to proceed with making a face. So first of all, draw a circle. Pretty easy, right? Actually not. So I'll just give you an example of how you can make different kind of circles. For example, you can just simply draw this, but I have practiced this. Even if it isn't a perfect circle, that's okay, but it should at least look somewhat in a single stroke. It should look continuous. Drawing something like this uh, isn't actually good or will not help you. So how do I draw a circle perfectly? So let me just help you. Just draw a cross like this, and then using your pencil or anything, just think about you know this equidistant. Just make this equidistant marks and just connect them using your hand, and you'll have a pretty normal circle actually. Not perfect, but this can actually work. So all of the people. Okay, so now you have to start working on your paper if you want to, or if you have something near you, any notebook or anything, just start making circles. Okay. Okay, I'll give you a tip on how to improve basically at art. Hmm, at art. Hmm. First of all, one of the tips that I want to give is use your arm. Use your arm. What do I mean by that? Not your wrist. Now, even though for example, if this is your hand, you're holding your pen or anything like this. You have your pen. Now, what most of the people tend to do is they'll rotate your wrist or your fingers, and this is wrong. If you try to rotate your fingers, then this I'm trying to draw things by rotating my fingers. I'm not ending up with a very big circle. I'm just ending up with this small circles. And if I use my whole arm, that is, if this is my hand, simply, what I'll do is I'll let me just draw it again. The pen. This is my arm. This is my shoulder. Okay. I'll rotate this hole into to make a circle like this from the shoulder itself. This is my pivot, and I'm rotating my whole arm around it like that. So that helps to make a pretty good circle. But this method works fine too. Just make sure that you're having the same distance everywhere on your four axes and just connect them together like this. So have you finished writing? Start working on uh, If you have finished the circle, just let me know in the chat, because you also have to keep working with me over here. So I'll make my circle. Start practicing circles and make a big circle on your paper. It should be pretty big. As you can see, this is okay. Wait a minute. This is, for example, my paper. So I have made a pretty big circle. So that is what you have to do. Make a pretty big circle and try to mark its center if you can. It should be rough. It doesn't have to be exactly its center. You can use a compass if you want, or anything. Circle made with arm. Okay, if we were offline, then I'll be explaining it in much detail how to draw with your arm. But right now, just make the circle. Did it, sir? Yes, done. So, okay. Circle isn't that much of a hard step actually. So now next what we're gonna do is we'll just make a vertical line dividing the circle in two. Just make a vertical line. Now main thing is this should be straight. Okay. As you can see, I have also made a mistake. I haven't drawn it straight, but it is very important that it's straight. It should be straight. It should be vertical, not slant. I have drawn it a little bit slant, but let it be for now. Yeah, actually I can fix it. Let's fix it. Okay. So I have made a somewhat straight line. And the next thing that you do is you divide the circle horizontally. Okay. So this is good. Pretty good. Now, after completing this step, what do you have to look for is this distance same as this distance or not? I mean, they should be pretty much the same. About the same distance. You don't have to measure it or anything, but about the same distance. It should be same. And same for this distance too. So this is pretty good actually. These are the basic steps actually. And so made, yes, done. So after you've done all of that, now comes the rather tricky part actually. Okay. I think most of you might have done this lines. So just any one of you can write in the chat, then it will be okay. Sir, can we rotate the paper while drawing? Okay. Rotating the paper is good when you're at the beginner level. You can rotate the paper, you can draw any way you like. And after a certain, after you have drawn a lot of circles and a lot of faces, you don't need to rotate the paper that much. So it's okay. You can draw however it fits you. Okay. I think the lines are done. So what I'll do is I'll just, this is my length or this is my radius actually. Let's use some maths. Okay. I'll try to divide this into three equal parts. They don't have to be actually totally equal, but somewhat, comparably equal. So this is okay. If my distance is not same, then what should I do? Just okay. For example, if I have drawn a circle like this, and if my center is like this, and my distance is not the same, then I'll just modify my circle to make the distance same. That's just simple. Just erase the outer circle and just work with the inner circle. That's the thing. The erasers functionality is pretty annoying actually in Autodesk Sketchbook, but what can you do? Okay. So let's just start with this. What I have done is I have, divided this into three equal parts. Even though they do not look equal, they must be, somewhat equal actually, not precisely equal parts. So after doing that, I'll just draw a line from this one, the lowest part. Just draw a straight line from that. I'll be erasing all of this because I don't need that. I just needed this point. So I've got that. Now comes the next tricky part. I think I'm drawing. Okay, no problem. After you've done this, what you do is you take this much distance, which is 2/3, right? 2/3, and you mark the same distance downwards from the 2/3 point, or from this point, mark the same distance downwards. I'll repeat again what I have done. I have taken this radius, uh, parted it into three parts, and from this I've drawn a straight line which intercepts over here, and this distance is the same distance that I've taken over here. And also sorry for my mic quality, it isn't good, but we have to work with what we have. Done, sir. Okay. Are you able to follow this? If you are, if you aren't able to follow with this, I'll repeat again. So just write in the chat whatever you think, or if you have any doubts, no problem. Because this was the basic structure, and after that things go on very smoothly actually. If you're drawn this much, you can draw face pretty much. These are the basic proportions. Now let me tell you, these are average proportions. I mean, these are what a normal, average, or something ideal proportions, actually ideal rather than average, ideal proportions. So this will not work for all faces, but it's a good approach actually to start drawing. Okay, able to follow. Okay, so let's just, I'll be removing this because I don't need it anymore. You don't have to remove if you want. Actually, I'll let it be. Now we'll be starting with the face, structure. So I'll add a new layer. You don't have to do anything like that. I'll decrease this layer's opacity and I'll work on this layer. Okay. So the next thing you do is you see where this line intersected the circle on this, this points where this line intersected the circle. What you do is you draw straight lines from that. Just draw a simple straight line, a simple straight line. Now during this, just make sure that this distance and this distance should be equal. If it isn't, then you can move your center line for them to be about the same distance. That is allowed actually, moving the center line a little bit because you didn't draw the circle using a compass. So this much is okay. I think you can adjust the circle too if you want. So just draw this, and sorry, I'll decrease its visibility. And now we'll be working on this layer. So this was the basic structure, and now we'll be adding the features. The first feature is the jaw. So let's just start making a jaw. So first of all, let me be clear that we're making a male face over here, male face. So for a male face, the jaw is more muscular and more straight, like this, kind of like this. And for a female face, actually, if I'm drawing a female face, I'll have the draw in like this at a slant angle, somewhat of an angle. So this is what a female face is like. So what do you want to draw? A male face or a female face? In the chat, just let me know. We'll draw anything that you want to draw. Anyone in the chat? Male face or a female face? What do you want? Male face. Okay. Okay, wait a minute. We have some vote going on over here. Oh, male, 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 male. Okay, the majority of votes is for male face, so I'm sorry for anyone who voted for female face. Both? Both? I don't think I'm ready right now to make a transgender face, but okay. So let's just make a male face. And for a male face, let me just, you know, what you do is simply just divide it into halves. This half and this half. Just draw a line and drop this straight, somewhat curved, but mostly straight. This is the point where your jaw will make this thing, you know, this corner, and just join it over like this. Now, sometimes it doesn't look like, pretty good, this kind of measurement of half. So you can change it. I'll just make it somewhat like this. Yeah, this is pretty good, for a square face jaw. Square jaw, actually, square jawed face. And if I want, I'll just raise the things a little bit higher for it to feel more like a face. So now this is done. Hmm. After drawing this jaw, just let me know in the chat. Male, male, male. Okay. Other than this male thing. So what I did, I'll just repeat again for anyone who wants to know. I just dropped this, very little bit slant, not totally vertical, but a little bit slant lines from this till halfway mark, or normally halfway mark is pretty good for a male face. And then I just joined it to the chin. This is my chin. You can make adjustment later on if you want. Jaw done. Okay. So after making the jaw, most of the people want to rush into the eyes, but eyes are the last features that you draw on a face. Normally you start with the nose. Now let me just make a new layer and teach you how to make noses first. Okay, let me hide this to noses. Let me just draw a side view of a nose first. This is what your nose looks like from your side view. There are different kinds of noses actually. So this is also a type of nose. If you want to make anything like this, they can be pretty sharp. In anime, the noses are pretty sharp. Somewhat. Sometimes they're just triangles. But what is the basic structure of a nose? So let me just erase this and just from I'll be drawing the front view and the side view for you to easily follow. Okay. So first of all, this is from where it starts, right? Uh, Let me just draw a nose in right here. What I'm drawing it for, I'll tell you. This is how normally you will draw a nose if you aren't shading, just sketching it. but this doesn't look good. Doesn't look good, right? Because there are unnecessary lines. These lines are unnecessary. These lines, these lines are unnecessary. Whenever you're making a nose, do not draw this, nose bridge line unless and until you're going to shade it. If you're shading, then this is important because this gives you a boundary of lighter and darker shades. This is dark and this is light, but normally it is not needed. So what, these are also not needed much. You can just give a hint that there is something like this. This is the center line. And for the bottom part, let me just make something a lot bigger over here. The bottom part actually can be represented using this. You have a circle, you have two nostrils, cute little nostrils, and this, done. This is what a nose looks like if you want to draw simply. But this is not too visually appealing, right? So we'll just break it down into very simple parts. What we'll do is we'll just make the nostrils first, okay? And because you're looking straight on, okay? So if I draw the lower view of your nose, let me draw it over here. This is what your nose may look like. You have two nostrils, and this thing, and this thing, and this thing. This is called septum, or something like that. But we don't need it. What we know is the nostrils are pretty big, but from the front view, they don't look like this. You don't see the full nostrils from the front view or from the side too. As you can see, you just see a little bit of the nostril. So that's the thing. You just have to draw this, tear shaped little things for the nose. And for the drawing, this is also unnecessary. You can just go on making it simpler. Let me just draw a hierarchy for you. Let me erase it, all of it. Go on to the paintbrush. And this is, okay, wait a minute. Okay. This is what a normal nose may look like if I am drawing it with all of the details. I'll have some shadow at one side to show. Now what I'll do is I'll just get rid of this nose bridges and other thing. Okay. So now I have only this thing, and the nostrils and these things. Get rid of this too. You'll just have this and the indication over here that there's a nose. Get rid of this and this. You just have this, and this is a perfect representation of a nose. I mean, if you see this on a face, you'll say that, yeah, this is a nose. You don't have to have some fancy things like this. But for now, I'll just be making normal nose. So, a normal nose like this. Okay. For making the nose, it's quite simple. Just draw a circle and just draw two nostrils like this, and you're done. You're done with making the nose. Pretty simple. You just erase the circle afterwards, erase this, and make it somewhat like this. Done. Nose. Perfectly acceptable nose. Like this. And sometimes you have to draw the nose at an elevated angle, like this. So here we'll see some of the nostrils popping out. Like this. And you have the lips and things like that. So now I'll exit this layer and I'll start drawing on our main layer. What I'll do is, this is your brow line. This is your brow line, brow or brow ridge, brow bridge or brow ridge. I'll just call it brow ridge. This is what it is. This is where your eyebrows will go. So first of all, how will the nose be positioned onto your face? So what you do is you just take some random, measurement like this. But I want my nose to be this big. It doesn't have to be very accurate. Just don't make it too big. You know, you've seen faces or anything like this. Just wing it. If you make a big nose, then no problem. There's no such limitation that you have to use you know small noses or anything like that. But a small nose looks more delicate. So now do not go all the way to this. Okay, we'll just remain a little bit up from this. What I'll do is I'll just draw this first, just a little indication like this. You know, instead of a full circle, you can draw a whole circle and erase it afterwards if you want. I'll just draw this and then I'll draw the nostrils. Okay, support for LGBTQ coming. Okay, Ashish sir, sorry, but although I support the LGBTQ community, but I can't make it right now. Okay, for the nose, it's simple. I'll just make a bigger version over here. Let me get rid of all of this. I'm just drawing it like this, two nostrils on a face. You can draw it and just, covering things. Do not go overhead and draw it like this. This doesn't look good. Just make, simple shapes like this. Actually, this is also a perfectly good, acceptable nose. If you don't want to draw this, just draw this. Here's your nose. And then you have this, which I don't actually like drawing this. This thing is not good. So we'll just keep it, out of our things to draw. Let me just fine tune it a little bit. Let me just zoom in. Okay, a simple representation of what a nose is. I can also remove this, and this can perfectly work. Okay, can also remove this, and this also works. The sky is the limit if you know how to make this kind of detailed omissions of where the details are important and where they aren't. Okay, so first of all, I'll just okay. Okay, so just let me down in the nose. Sorry, in the chat if you have made the nose. Yeah, you can have a reference ready with you if you want to reference how a nose looks or anything like that. I'll just this is how you draw a simple nose. So after nose comes eyebrows. Okay, let me just check in on the chat if you have completed the nose. Done, nose made. Done, sir. Okay, thank you. So let's just start with the brow. Again on this layer, let me just clear everything from this layer. Okay, done. For the eyebrows, most of the people tend to make eyebrows like this. Let me just this is what their eyebrows look like or something like this or anything that is uneven. This is not good actually. Let me just tell you what a basic eyebrow may look like. Okay, What you do is you just make a shape like this. This is what a basic eyebrow looks like. Simple. First, draw a slanted line like this. Draw another line. Okay, done. Okay, not this much inclined, only a little bit. Okay, like this. Next, this tapers actually. This distance and this distance is different. Just make it go from like this, and then just end it like this. Now, of course, there are different types of eyebrows. I mean, for most of the girls, you would not like to use these eyebrows. These are for male faces, like male faces. For female, the eyebrows are a little bit refined, a little bit. Let me just draw it again. Like this. A little bit on the sleeker side. I mean, these are thinner actually, thinner eyebrows. Then if you go for anime, uh, you can have just simple this or this, kind of like this. Anyway, people take a lot of liberties when drawing eyebrows. Like, most of the time, there aren't any eyebrows. Like this is also an eyebrow. This doesn't make sense, but this is an eyebrow actually. I'm not remembering from which anime, but this is an eyebrow. This thing. So they do take a lot of liberties, but simply for anime, drawing an eyebrow like this is okay. Perfectly acceptable. This one is also okay. This is okay for a male face. This is okay for a female face. Now, the main problem is drawing a side profile. Okay, let me just see the chat first. For how to make both side brows look the same. Okay. I'll be telling that too. But let me just uh, address this thing. Whenever you're making a side profile, like this, right? If this is your side profile, let me just okay. This is my side profile, and this is my eye. I'll be teaching you how to make the side profile eye too. So now the main thing which people do is they do this. This is wrong. So as you can see, if you see in a 3D view actually, if this is this, for example, this potato like circle is somehow your head. So the eyebrows wrap around like this, right? You have an eyebrow that starts like this and this goes on around like this. So from the side view, you will have this part more and this part less. The starting part would be less visible actually, and it should start from this side, and then you have this. So this is good. This is how you draw a side brow. And for the question of how to make both of the side brows have the same, size and look, let's go on to the main figure then to explain that. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just make a boundary for how long or how much I want the brow to cover, and then I'll start making the brow. Okay, from I think from this area. This looks so perfectly accepted. Okay, like this. Okay, as I've told you, just use. Okay, this is a bit too much. Okay, let's just remove this. Have this. Take over this. Okay, done. I have drawn one eyebrow. Let me just shade it in so it is more clear. Now, how do I draw an identical second eyebrow? So, for beginners, actually, what you do is just measure this distance, same as this. Okay, done. Now, erase this line because it is. Now, make another line from the end and from the start. Okay, or from the actually top. Mhm. Okay, let me just zoom in like this. Okay, have a lot of stray lines over here, but there'll be. So I have this eyebrow, and I'll. Okay, so this is from where I'll start the eyebrow. I've taken this measurement and this measurement. So this is from where I'll start the eyebrow. Next thing is this top measurement. So I'll just go ahead and make a simple, straight line from this over to this. Of course, I'll not be drawing the whole straight line because it will make the sketch look too messy. So about this. And what is this distance? About this much. So, I mean, this is more or less the same. Okay. So now you have two anchor points and you know how much height this is. So just start making this and make this. Done. One part completed. Then you just have to follow in. Just see that this has this much space. I'll give this much space. And about over here. So about the halfway point. Just simply make such kind of, measurements or references from your other eyebrow and just color it into. Now the main thing is when you are zoomed in or focused too much, then for a second it might look like they're identical, but if you zoom out you'll see that they aren't actually identical. This can use a little bit of height, so you have to somewhat improvise. Making eyebrows the same, this symmetrical is actually pretty hard, but once you have achieved that, your drawing will get pretty better. All right. uh, Wait a second. Eh, if you use the same kind of shape, then it will be easier to make the both of the eyebrows identical to each other. Once you have a basic working shape, just let it be for now. Okay, I can do this for both to look a little bit identical like this. And now if you are done with the eyebrows, of course you can use this symmetry tool, but that's only for your digital artists. And now too, we're not jumping in making the eyes, or rather, let me just give you on an anatomy tip. Actually, the eyes are fitted in a socket, right? You know that eye socket. uh, what you do is you just make this kind of shape from your eyebrow. This is not necessary at all. If you want to make it, then you can make it. This just gives you a guide how to make your eyes. This is the eye socket. Of course, eye socket doesn't look like this, but this is a pretty good guide if you have to draw eyes after you've drawn the eyebrows, if you prefer the other pronunciation. Okay, so let me just know in the chat if you have completed their eyebrow thing. Let me remove all of this nonsense from the screen. Okay, done. We have to move pretty fast. Actually, I'm sorry to people who aren't able to follow, but we'll be uploading the stream on on YouTube too, so you can reference from that. You can use other YouTube tutorials too on Lumi's method of drawing a straight head. But the main thing is, Proco is a good artist on YouTube, which who makes Lumi's method videos, but he doesn't make this feature videos. He'll just tell you how to make this thing structure, and then that's it. You'll have to learn how to make these features yourself. So you can watch this video again if you want. to know how to make that. So now I'm making this invisible or invisible, and we'll just go on making lips. The best thing, lips. Most of the drawings are ruined by this thing, lips. And the main reason is, even if you know how lips look like this is how basically lips look like, right? What's more than this looks bad, even though I've drawn this in hurry, but I'll draw lips like this only, even if I'm drawing in my real life and this look really bad. The main reason is you are not shading it. If you are shading it, then this looks good. You have a shade over here, you don't have these lines, you just have a shaded lip, which looks a little bit better than that. But here we are just sketching it. Same with anime. You'll see that they don't make lips often, or they don't make lips at all. They just give you an indication like this. This is their face, this is their teeth, and that's it. And like this on, that's it, they've done their job. This is their lips. So the main reason being lips look bad actually. They don't look pretty good on a sketch actually. So what you need to do is you need to remove those details. Omit details. Remove those details. Sorry for repeating second time, but this is how I speak. So let's just start. What you need to do is draw this. Okay, let me just make this first. Normal example of how a lip looks, and this is the details omitted version, right? uh, First you draw this, just this, done. Do not make this or this, not good. Now you make this, this shape. Okay, pretty good, easily followable like this. And then you make this line, and these things are important actually. This, these things. If you see in real life too, if I have a side view of a lip like this, and these are the darker areas. Okay, sorry for the side view, this isn't a very good view, but you know that there are darker areas like over here. So that is what we are targeting. Mainly what the concept is, whenever you're omitting these details or removing these details, you need to focus on the darker areas where the shadows are. So most of the shadow is relies on this point. So this is basically what we draw. We just draw the points where there will be shadow. In the nose too, the nostrils are the main point of shadow, and this are the main point of shadow. You don't see any shadow on the nose bridge, so you don't have to make it. That's the basic thing. With eyes you can do that, because eyes basically have darker part all over, so you have to make full eyes. Of course you can omit some details, but eyes look good fully. And for the lower lip, just draw this, simple, done. Now of course this doesn't look as pretty or interesting, but when you draw this on a face, this looks better than this. But if you want to achieve something more with this, what you do is simply, after this line, you draw a little triangle, shade it in. Okay, done. And with this, do not shade the whole part. Actually, just draw a little bit, on the inside and shade it. Make sure that your shade goes a little bit darker as it goes on to the side. And that's it. This is how uh, you can represent a lip. And what if your face isn't looking straight forward, frontally? Now the thing changes. Now you have to draw lips like this, simple. Now what is this? This is basically like this. If you have noticed yourself in the mirror, and this is like this, this is like this, this is like this, and this is like this. This is what a lip consists of. a heart kind of shape, two triangles, and oval or a curve. So this represents this whole thing. If you are looking from the side view, let me just draw the face so you can understand the context. Now this is the nose. You're looking from the side. Just draw it like this. uh, and you have this thing going on. Simple. Do not draw this, these lines or this lines or this. This also suffices. This also suffices. A little bit of this. Done. But this is the most important thing for us right now. What you do is draw this, draw this, draw this. Make sure this is darker. Done. Lips done. So let me show it in the context of our face. Okay, another thing. Uh, Usually females have much more refined lips like this. Male lips are like this. Yeah. These are ideal cases. There will be unique lips, so don't just go here on me like. Okay, let's just start making lips. Okay, let me zoom in. First, you have to decide the general area of the lips. About this much down from your nose, the lips will start, and about this is too much. About this much. Okay, not quite half mark, but somewhat more than half. This is where your lips should end. Okay, are you able to follow? Just let me down in know in the chat if you have any doubts regarding any topic. I can repeat the topic again. Done. Okay, so I think everyone is able to follow. If you aren't able to follow, just write it down in the chats. Even if I don't see it, I have some other people who will answer your query or convey it to me, so I'll be able to clear your query. Nose. Okay. Okay, nose part. Okay, let me just explain one thing and then I'll recap the nose part too. Now the main thing is with the lips, uh, the upper part is smaller than the lower part. So this will be your upper part. Let me just remove this. And this will be bigger. Somewhat bigger, not this much of a distance difference, but it will be somewhat bigger like this. It looks bigger. So that's the thing. Now I'll be deleting this and going back to the nose part. Okay, for making a nose, you simply first make sure that you know where your nose is going. So just make a rectangle for your beginner stuff. Make sure that this distance and this distance is same. If it isn't, just make another line. Okay, done. And then what you do is you make a circle. Let's just go from the basics. You just make a circle. Done. Now somewhat from a little bit higher point, like this much of a distance, you just draw this thing, tear shaped. Of course this is not totally dark. Okay, only the this kind of part is dark and this isn't, but you don't have to go into that much of a detail. Just make it like this, the simple shapes like this. Done. And if you remove this is a perfectly acceptable nose, no problem over there. If you want to refine your nose a little bit, remove this, just add, you know remove this and just add it like this, just a little. down part. And for more refinement, add this. What are these? These are your nostrils coverings. Even though they look like this, okay, this is how your nose will look like. You have this kind of thing. But drawing this actually makes up for unnecessary detail. This is unnecessary detail. You don't need this. You just need this on the side of your nostrils. Done. And this. Done. Nose. Done. Done. Okay. This is how you make a nose. Of course, if you go into shading, then just mark this, that this is the light part, this is the dark part, if you want to. Not needed actually. This is the same thing that I've done here. Just made two circles, two tear-shaped nostrils and these things. Done. Now let's move on to the lips. As you can see, I have made this, general area where I want my lips to sit. Make sure that you have, some area reserved for the chin. You don't have to make the lips like this. This is wrong. Yeah, of course, you should ask over here for any doubts. Okay, so first of all, I'll just draw this, as I said, then this. Done. Now, how long should my lips be? Right? I can make them this long, but they don't look good. So what should I do? Of course, normally you can make lips up to this long, okay, about the middle point of your eyebrows, but that doesn't look too good. So I'll just say that you just make them about this long, okay. This is too small of a mouth. Just them bigger. Okay, done. Now, one of the things you need to remember is this distance and this distance should be same. Symmetry is important actually in this, face drawing tutorial, whatever this is. This symmetry is very important. Both sides should look the same. And for checking the symmetry, the easiest thing that you can do is just zoom out. I think this is pretty good. Can work with this. Normally, just shade the upper lip a little bit, just a little bit, and some part below the lower lip. And this gives you the feel of it being three-dimensional, even if it isn't. Same with the nose. So let's just okay. If you have made the lips, just write it down in the chat that lips done, sir, or something like that. I have successfully butchered this guy's nose. So let me just fix it. Okay, done. Okay, done. Okay, I've just got one response, so I'll wait for some time. Basically, symmetry is everything right now. If your face looks symmetric, it looks good. Even though in real life your face doesn't look symmetric, but in drawing a symmetric face looks a little bit better than a non-symmetric face. No, in real life the asymmetricity of the face is somewhat balanced, but in drawing it just pops out if you have made a very unsymmetric face. Okay, done. Repeat, sir, this process. Okay, I'll repeat this again. Okay, what I've done simply is first I just gauged what kind of area I want my lips to be in. So just make it new one. Clear this up. Okay, I still have this, so it's better. Okay, okay, done. This is where my nose sits. So this is my nose. And this is my eyebrows. Need eyebrows for some, just simple eyebrows, having too much detail. Now what I'll do is, this is nearly the halfway point, but I don't need this halfway point. I'll, have a somewhat lower point than this. This is my lips ending point. This is how big my lips will be. And for the starting point, I'll take some distance from the nose. Done? Okay. Looks good. Now what you do is, just let me zoom in. As this is the starting point, let me just draw this. As I said in the lips drawing process, your lips just starts like this, and this. Done. Okay. Then if this is my whole lip, then the upper lip should end somewhat here, not exactly at the halfway point, but somewhat, you know above that halfway point. Done. Now the next thing, how wide should my lips be? Should they be this wide? Should they be this wide? How can I decide? Well, the thing is simple. Normally you can extend your lips to about this distance, about half of this distance. Okay. But they look too, wide. So what I do is, I take a little bit off of that distance and make sure that this distance and this distance is the same, and then I'll just draw two slant lines like this. Okay. And at the end, I just, emphasize this point, so you know that my lip end here. Done. So this is how you draw a lip, simply, in simple, manner. Of course you can draw this and this, but that doesn't look good in the context of face. Let me show you. Okay. This, even though this looks good, but if I draw eyes on this, this just takes a whole lot of character out of the image, you know okay, sometimes you need to draw this. If you are drawing a man of African American descent, African descent, then, or Indian descent too, Indian and African people have, much thicker lips and much more pronounced lips. So drawing this for an Indian man is good, is okay. But for a Western man, this much is fine, more than enough actually. Okay, so let's just start with this again. What's happening? Vasu, African sir. Oh, okay. Let me explain the African thing again. You know, normal lips, like we draw this kind of lips, can be drawn for African or Indian people. Because we have thicker lips and, you know somewhat darker lips. So this is good. And the main thing is, our skin color is different from our lip color. Has a very pronounced difference. Whereas in Western people, it isn't that much pronounced, so we don't draw. And now we get on to the most important part, eye drawing. So let me just erase all of that and erase this eye or eyes. Now, of course, you can draw an eye like this, if you are an anime fan, like this, Deku eyes, or anything like that. But how do I draw a normal eye for a normal person? So what you do is, you just make sure, if I have to draw an eye in this much space, you know what? Do not confine yourself to a space. Rather, look at this. This is the most important part. If you are able to draw this, then you can make an eye. Simple. What I've done is, okay, uh, This is actually a pretty good point to explain this. Big, medium, small. What is this? This comes under design theory. Okay. What it means is, if you combine these three elements in any of the things you're drawing, you just increase its visual appeal by a lot, by amount about 100%. So let me just draw a gun. Of course, it's a toy gun or something like that. This doesn't seem appealing, you know. Now, with the same level of minimal detail, you know, just 2 or 3 boxes. Let me draw it again. Somehow this becomes more appealing. Like this is more appealing to you than this, right? So this is the concept of big, medium, small. We have a big element, a medium element, and a comparatively small element, like this or this. So drawing anything with a big, medium, and small, elements makes it more visually appealing. So if I have to draw a mech or a simple robot, I can draw it like this. Like this. Yeah. Anything like this. This looks good, but it's not that much visually appealing. While if I draw it like this, I have a big this, I have a medium, small ball, and I have short legs like this. This just becomes infinitely more visually appealing than the first one, right? If I am able to add some details to this. So that is the concept of big, medium, small. That applies to eyes too. What I am doing is, this is a big part, medium part, big part, small part. You draw this, you draw a big part, you draw a small part. Drawing it straight on doesn't look good. Make it have a little bit of a slant, like this, some alpha angle or something like that. Okay. Now, what is the next step after I have made this? Let me just zoom in on that. Okay. It work. Okay. Next thing is making this. Uh, most of the people ignore this, but this actually adds a lot of character to your eye. It makes you go from noob to at least a rookie, or an apprentice, if any of you are have played this kind of games where there's okay, sir, my nose is really not turning out as yours. Okay, I'll explain it again afterwards. First we'll focus on the eyes. So we draw this part and then the next part, which is also very important. What you do is you draw something like this. Instead of drawing something like this goes like this and this. Okay, no, like this. Done. This is your eye. Okay. And okay, now the main thing is pupils. How do I draw the pupil? Let me just show you a little anatomy of your eye first. This is what your eyeball looks like. It's a ball, a simple ball. And you have your pupil right here. Or, if it's looking straight on, then you have your pupil right here. Okay. So, and your eye is based around this shape, this spherical shape. Like this, actually. And that is why we have this curve, to accommodate for this spherical shape. If you see from the side view, or a little bit, this is how it looks. From a totally side view, this is how your eyes will look like. Okay, let me just You have this eyelashes, you have this pupil going on like this. Done. Okay, and this is somewhat of a three-fourth of a view. But main problem is you don't draw your pupils like this. If I have this eye, drawing my pupils like this is wrong. Never draw pupils like that. Your pupils, some part of your pupil will be hidden inside your, eyelashes. You can't have your eyes wide open every time. If your eyes are wide open or your character's eyes are wide open, then it's okay to draw it like that. It's stretched. You can show stretches by using some, muscle contractions over here to show that this is actually stretched, something like that. But anyways, rather than that, draw your pupil, like this. Instead of a full circle, cut off the top part of the circle. Simple. Okay. I explained it in the group 2. No, I don't. I didn't explain it in the group. I think. So. Anyways, this is how you draw your eye. But this, even though it looks good, this doesn't look as appealing. The reason being, we are missing some part of the anatomy. Now, eyelashes come secondary, like they are the last part which you want to draw. What you do is you make sure that this line is thicker than the bottom line. Okay, this line should be thicker. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing is just draw a simple line over there, cause let me just show you a detailed anatomical eye over here. Okay, it has a lot of details actually, and that doesn't look good. These are the basic details that you should be following whenever you're making an eye. This is your eyelid, actually, the eyelid line. What you do is simply follow your eye shape like this. Simple. You can make it on a rather different angle actually. And do not make it cover the whole eye, right? This thing is not right. If you are making your eyelid cover the whole eye like this, just give an indication that it has been spread over the whole eye. You don't need to cover the whole eye to show it. Okay. After that, for eyelashes, I'll recommend not to draw eyelashes right now. But if you want to draw eyelashes, this is wrong. Drawing eyelashes as if they are, simple strands of hair is wrong. What's pretty good about eyelashes is this is how you draw eyelashes. Gathered up in bunches. Okay, let me just try it again. This is a bunch of eyelashes. Bunch. You draw such kind of simple bunches when you want to make an eyelash. Instead of drawing this looks very good. Okay. And the thing is, where do you put the eyelashes? Over here, the thing is, if you see the side view of your eye, the eyelashes are pointing towards you. So you won't be seeing much of the eyelashes over here. So there's no need to draw eyelashes over there. Just draw some eyelashes at the end of your eye, and that's more than enough. The same for the lower side too. Somewhat of eyelashes over here. Done. I drew an eye, and this is a lot of details. Simply draw this, draw this, draw this. Make sure you don't draw this like this. draw this, draw this, and draw this. Done. So let's make it in our main image. Okay, now this guidelines come in handy, right? These guidelines. Okay, let me just. What you do is now you have a basis for that curve. As I said, this curve, this curve. You have a basis for that curve right now. So just start it. This medium part, this big part, and a small part. Big part. Okay, you can use this kind of symmetrical ratios. Done. Okay, they're not symmetrical at all. Let me try it again. Let me just look it. Okay, done. Okay. Now after drawing this, what I'll do is I'll try to follow this curve. Okay. Not totally. I can draw this like this, or like this. Now let me just remove all of this, simple details, and let's just get in on drawing. Simply done. Okay. This, of course, this face has a lot of hard features. It doesn't look that much realistic, but that's a step ahead from what you are doing, before that. At least the basic anatomy and how to draw eyes and stuff like that. Okay. Of course, I'll be adding this line, just a little hint of that line. And this line is the most important part actually. This line. Okay, let me just. If you don't want to make it a line, just give an indication of, somewhat darker shading. And then of course you make your pupils. Make sure you do not draw full circles, but rather this kind of half circles. And done. Eyes are done. So that's a major, milestone covered. Let me just. You can fine tune your eyes. I'll need to fine tune some of the aspects because like this. Of course, they don't look visually appealing if you zoom in on them a lot, but if you zoom out, they do look good. And again, the same thing. I'll try to make this a little bit darker. What making this a little bit darker achieves is that you don't have to draw the eyelashes then. If you make the upper lid a little bit darker, it compensates for the eyelashes actually. Okay. I think I have misplaced the pupils. Yes, I have. Let me just correct that. Of course, right now you just have to keep looking at your photo from a distance to see if it is hampering the overall visual look of the image. Now after this, after doing all of this, clearing it up a little bit, let me just remove this layer and look at it. Okay, normally you can use a little bit singular lines over here instead of this cluster focal lines. Done. Now the next part are ears, which are pretty easy to draw. Let me just. Okay. Now, first thing is, have you completed the drawing till this part? Let me know in the chat. And I just look at tell that to I have difficulty drawing how the eyes seem to be looking at a camera. Okay, for this look, actually, for achieving that look that I should be looking at the camera, what you do is instead of drawing, this kind of straight eye, you draw a slanted eye like this. Then draw a half pupil. Done. This actually gives you the benefit of doubt actually to your brain. Even though he can be looking somewhere else, but this just makes up for the lack of details and the lack of shading or light. Then, but not as good as yours. Of course, you'll have to practice a lot. Okay, this is not actually a good eye. Also, what I've drawn, but it's a basic eye. But after practicing a lot, you'll make good eyes. Mine is looking like a Chinese. Okay, Asian eyes are also good. I mean, they're pretty much like this, more or less. Can see anything. I think I'm actually impressed by anime eyes a lot. They have such different concept for eyes, but they don't look pretty different from eyes. Now moving on for ears. Let me just give you a basic anatomy tip for ears. Draw this. Okay, let's just start again. What you do is draw this outer cone for your ear like this, or you can draw this too, but this is not good. Rather you draw this, instead of a full circle like this, you draw a rather tapered circle or a tapered curve. Okay, I like to draw my ears like this, even though this will be better than this, but whatever is your choice or is your preference. Now next thing is this thing that your ear has. Okay, done. Now this is a perfectly acceptable ear if you just do this thing. Just draw. Okay, just draw this. Done. Ear done. But for some of you who want to know more about the anatomy, what you do is you draw this and draw this and you draw this. Of course, this is not perfect anatomy of an ear, but this is काम चलाओ काम जैसा type. This is okay, and this is the maximum level of detail that you want to go for at this stage, at least. If you're going for hyperrealism, as I said, that takes a lot of time and a lot of references, so that's not feasible right now for me to explain you each concept of how the ear anatomy looks. Okay, so let's just start by making ear. For the size of the ear, roughly take the in between spot from your eyebrows and eyes and up till your nose. This is the spot in which your ears will rest, so make sure that you make them symmetrical. Okay, nothing else, just symmetrical ears like this. Done. Now as I said, just draw this and perfectly acceptable ears. Done. Or else you can add a little bit of details like I have done. Not necessary. As I said, draw ears like this, this and this. Done. Looks good. Okay, so I have drawn a baby with adult features. Okay, if you're you'll have to Uday Kumar will have to trick change the jawline actually. I think if it's looking like a baby, normally jawline is the defining feature. Mine is also looking like rather a teenage boy than a full adult. So it's okay. We all make mistakes. That's okay. So you can call it a modern art. Okay, that's also acceptable. Okay, yeah. Mine is okay. Let me know down in the chat if you have followed till now, because we're just nearly completing the phase. Anime version of Profx. Okay, yeah, maybe it will be drawing here on this. Or do we want to make him bald? Actually, we'll draw here because I have to explain some concepts related to that too. So just let me know when you have finished this. Done. Okay. Let's just start with the hair. Now this actually is very easy, but first let me just explain to you how what hairline looks like. Okay, let me just draw side facing man. Then hmm, good. Now for this, this is how your hairline looks like. Okay, I'm drawing an ideal hairline. Of course, hairlines differ from person to person. If I'm drawing a profile view, let me just draw a profile view of this person. Okay, or the skull will be bigger. Okay, done. Here, this is how your hairline goes actually. Normal hairlines actually go like this, somewhat like this, not this dip, like this. Okay, this can be a straight line too, somewhat, somewhat receding hairline, a totally receding hairline. Some of the people have that receded hairline. We'll make a normal hairline like this. So let's see how it looks like from the front. Okay, first of all, this is my face. I'll take roughly the same distance from this point to the nose over here, and then just draw a straight line, nothing more right now, and then draws it something like this. Okay, let me just over here. Clear it up. If this is your face, okay, and if this is your line, draw it like this, a somewhat circular point like this. Okay, so after drawing this, let me just get rid of all of these details. Let me just get rid of this skeleton structure too, and remove this unwanted lines. What I'll do is, or I'll just decrease the opacity of this thing if I can somehow reach it. This is okay. Now working on this layer, what we'll do is we'll just have it come in a little bit like this, just a little bit from this, just a little bit, rather than a straight line, just a little bit till this point, till half the length of your ear, about the half length of your ear. Okay, now drawing here is tricky. Drawing here is the most tricky part. I'll just, okay, this is my skull, but if I draw here like this, like this looks, this doesn't look good. What you have to know is hair has mass and volume. So it will of course flow out from the head, right, like this. So what you need to do is, first you have to decide from where your hair will be flowing. For example, let me just clear it up. As I said, on this guy, let me just make a rough figure. uh, you've seen a lot of people have this, kind of, what do you call it, I don't know, have this thing where you can see that hair originates from this, or this is the point from where you can see that hair flows like this, right? So I can draw his hair flowing in like this, and this looks good. Okay. Okay, just excuse me for a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, and also I'm rather late to the party, but happy new year to all of you. Okay, so this is how hair flows. So instead of this is how the skull of the person was, and I just added some mask to the hair, and this looks pretty good. Actually, this looks very good compared to if I just followed the skull whenever I'm drawing the hair. So that's the thing. You need to have a point from which the hair will flow outward. Okay. Of course, this is unkempt hair. It doesn't look like it has been cut from. You know. Let's just start. I'll say that I have somewhere in the background. This will be the point from which the hair will flow, right? Like this. Second thing is how anime like I want my hair to be. How realistic I want my hair to be, or how anime like I want my hair to be. So what I can do is, okay, wait a second. I hope you're able to follow till this. Uh, actually torn on how to draw the hair. I can give you an easy hair or a good looking hard hair. Hard to make hair. Let's just draw something in between. Okay. So basically, before starting to draw strands of hair, just make sure that you know how your hair shape basically looks. Okay. I've drawn a normal shape, you know, normal, no. Just like toothpaste actually. Toothpaste. You see in Colgate ads, there are some. This looks good. And then this is the part where you have to focus mainly. This part. Make sure that whenever, from wherever your hair is starting, it should have some mass over there. Some volume over there. More volume should be on that part, and then the volume should go on continuously decreasing. So more emphasis on this part, and then I'll have a puffy hairstyle like this. Okay. Of course, these are highly imaginary kind of hair. So what if I want to draw something different? Normal kind of hair. Hmm. Let's just tone it down a little bit. This looks too cartoonish. Okay. Let's just have hair that flows like this. Downwards actually. This looks pretty good, I think. Of course, you don't have to copy the exact hairstyle that I'm doing. But I think this looks pretty good. Better than what I was doing or what I was trying to achieve with that weird kind of hairstyle. Okay. The main thing is, do not draw hair like this. single strands. This looks bad. Rather, just have this. This looks better than having a lot of single strands going up to this point. Okay, so done. Okay, just shade in like this. If you want to, just make some minor adjustments however you want, and that's pretty much how you draw a face. Hmm. But something looks missing, right? If I zoom out of this, okay, that's a face, all right, but something looks missing. The missing thing is the neck. And normally I'll tell you the neck anatomy, but we have some time constraints. So let's just say that you just draw two simple, cylinders like this. And these are your trapezius muscles or traps. Your traps. And this muscle has actually a pretty weird name. It's gastrocleidomastoidus. Mastoidus or mastoidus, I think. So that's also a pretty big name for a very small muscle. So done. What you can do is you can exercise your character. Uh, I personally like this kind of sweaters, this kind of winter wear. Adds a little bit of character to your otherwise normal drawing. Let me just get rid of this layer completely, and then we clean up your drawing. All of this little things. You don't need this. You don't need this. So, okayish character. I have made the gap between the eyes too much. Hmm? Okay, I think it's done. This is pretty much how you draw you know, a character, a face. Huh? Here, okay, okay, yeah. Let's start again. Draw using this, right? Draw this. Okay. So as I said, you have this hairline, right? What you do is you construct a little bit of hairline like this. Then, if this is your, let me just draw the ears. It will be helpful. One, two ears, simple ears. What you do is you bring in your hairline like this. Your hairline like this. Done. Now this, just consider any point from which you want to your hair to originate. You want your hair to originate. Let's make this one a little bit more Todoroki kind of hair. If someone watches My Hero Academia. Okay. So this is the point from which I'll assume that my hair flows in. Okay. Of course, it will be on the skull, but this is okay. Okay, actually. So what we want to do is make sure that you, whatever kind of strands you make sure that they are always pointing away from this point, this particular point. If I make a strand like this in his hair now, it will not make sense because they are pointing somewhere over here. It should point away from this. So making a strand like this is actually good. This is good. You can make a strand like this. So let's just first of all make the overall, background for how your hair should be. As I said, somewhat more volume from where it starts and it goes on decreasing in its volume. So you can also make some girlish kind of hair. So let's just draw some girls here. Okay. Of course, I'm not going too fancy right now. So now I've established that this is my hairline. Next, I'll just draw Simple stuff like this, normal things. And for the hair part, what I'll recommend is you keep looking at examples and more and more of other people's drawings and actual real life examples. You'll get drawing better. You know, you'll get better at drawing here like that only. I cannot teach you each and every kind of hair, at least not with this kind of time constraint that we have. There are very different kinds of hair. You can have an afro and things like that. Long straight hair like Todoroki's from My Hero Academia. Sorry if I'm making a lot of references from My Hero Academia. But okay. Okay, so finishing up, I don't want to finish it up. You know. Okay, done. I think. Is it looking good or not? I don't know. This is basically it. Don't forget to sign your artworks if you want to, and have a pretty, distinguishable and fancy sign at your disposal whenever you want to sign an artwork. Done. So I hope you learned something new from this workshop. Let me just save it first. Save. Workshop practice. Okay, now I'll open up another thing. Workshop practice 2. Oh, not this. Okay. This one I have shared, right? Not this one. Open. Workshop practice. Okay. This one. This is basically how you draw that a girl's face. So this thing. I have some fancy hair going on in this one. A little bit more of this eyebrows and ear and nose if anyone wants to see or reference it. I'll just keep it on for a moment. I'll just show you that this is how the jaw is shaped actually. This is a man's jaw and this is a woman's jaw. If I just remove all of the details. Narrower actually, it is narrower and this is more wider. Simple. Okay. I hope you learned something from this experience. Do let me know. Mine is quite weird. Of course, after my first workshop too, mine came out pretty weird. But you keep practicing, and you'll end up, being pretty good. And for some, let me just give you some tips. For YouTube, just search for. Okay, let me just give you a YouTube channel, Jazza. Uh, he makes quite interesting videos, and on his some former videos, about 5 or 6 years back, he has made tutorials on face making and things like that. You can follow that. You can follow Cynic's designs videos. You can follow Propo's videos. These are all, pretty pro level draws, pro level training or pro level stuff. So prony, I'll just call it apprentice or rookie level stuff. Rookie. First, you learn from this guy how to make normal stuff. Then you move on to this to learn more about the anatomy. Okay, so I hope you learn something. We're trying to make another workshop basically on hatching or shading. If it is a success or if we have some more information, we'll let you know in the group. And we'll upload this stream to on YouTube. and you can just gaze on it going at 2x speed or anything like that. Okay. I also enjoyed teaching all of you guys. Think I have taken. Oh, I actually did take a workshop in my second year, but back then I wasn't, this much good at drawing. So that workshop, even though it was a success and people did learn a lot, but it was the artwork was a little underwhelming. I'm actually happy with the artwork that I've drawn in this, workshop. This one's another one. And also thanks for your support. And let me know in the WhatsApp group if you have any queries. So I think we should stop the stream right now, right? Okay. Okay. And any doubts, you can DM me, DM any of the other seniors, and you can ask it in the group. It will be better if you ask it in the group. I'll be able to, share the answers. Okay. So I'll be ending the broadcast right now. Thank you and happy New Year once again.